Okay, let's dive into this wild hypothetical situation from the internet that honestly just perfectly captures the brilliant, chaotic energy of collaborative problem solving. It all starts with one kind of bizarre question and then spirals into this masterclass in survival, absurdity, and, yeah, human nature.
And there it is. This is the bizarre fever dream of a prompt from Reddit that kicked off hundreds of strategies, from the perfectly logical to the completely and wonderfully unhinged. So the setup is you, a squirrel with a human brain, versus a feral cat in what is essentially the Thunderdome of a two-story McDonald's.
You know, this simple premise became an absolute playground for the internet's hive mind. And as we all know, there's nothing the internet loves more than taking a completely nonsensical scenario and treating it with the deadly seriousness of a NASA mission debriefing. So, not surprisingly, the very first and most popular response was also the most sensible one. It's the one that any of us, if we suddenly found our human mind trapped in a squirrel's body, would probably think of first. I mean, yeah, of course. Just bolt through the drive-thru window and don't look back, right? But as other people quickly pointed out, that's just too easy. See, the unwritten rule of the game here is that you are trapped inside. The doors are locked, the clock's ticking. So, with a strategic retreat completely off the table, the collective reasoning immediately shifted gears into full-blown engineering overdrive. How do you turn a fast food joint into a squirrel-sized fortress? The first wave of plans really focused on combining a squirrel's natural agility with the unique, let's just call it the infrastructure that only a McDonald's can offer.
The ideas ranged from pure stealth, disappear into the ventilation system, to a little bit of what you could call culinary diplomacy. The thinking here is pretty simple. A well-fed cat is a lazy cat, so you bribe the assassin with McNuggets.
And this right here? This comment brilliantly illustrates the birth of a running gag that basically defines the entire conversation. The famously eternally broken McDonald's ice cream machine is suddenly transformed into the ultimate impenetrable squirrel bunker. And you know what? The logic is perfect. Okay, so let's move into the phase where the plans evolve from being just practical to being wonderfully absurd. This is where the internet really, truly starts to shine, blending strategy with just pure, unadulterated chaos. It didn't take very long for commenters to remember that a lot of McDonald's locations contain a plastic fortress of tubes, slides, and, let's be honest, questionable hygiene, otherwise known as the PlayPlace. And for a squirrel, this is home field advantage. This strategy relies on a simple truth. Squirrels are nature's little parkour champions. So the idea is to lead the cat on this high-speed chase through the kitchen, hoping its chaotic energy eventually leads it to, well, an unfortunate encounter with the deep fryer. All right, so the next major strategy pivot involved what might be the most Reddit core solution you can possibly imagine. Forget the environment. Start manipulating the humans. The plan? Weaponize cuteness. And the stakes for this plan? They are incredibly high. I mean, best case scenario, you find a protector who gives you hash browns for the rest of your life. Worst case scenario, you run into someone who really does not want to be bothered before their morning coffee. It is a true roll of the dice. Just when you thought every possible angle had been covered, the conversation took this sharp scientific turn into the fascinating world of squirrel aerodynamics. It was time to weaponize physics. So this plan is based on an actual scientific fact that a squirrel's terminal velocity is so low it can survive a fall from basically any height. The cat, on the other hand, well, it's still bound by the pesky laws of gravity. It's a brilliant, if not slightly dark, use of biomechanics. And just when the chaos was really hitting its peak, the thread did what the internet always does. It folded in on itself and became completely self-aware. The problem suddenly wasn't just about the squirrel anymore. All of a sudden, the entire discussion spiraled into this meta-commentary on artificial intelligence. People started wondering, wait a second, is this a test? Is Skynet crowdsourcing defenses for its future army of squirrel drones against their natural feline predators? You know what? Of course it was. And through all of this philosophical and strategic debate, the broken ice cream machine just continued its evolution. It was no longer just a hiding spot. It became a symbol of modern despair and a cornerstone of every single good survival plan. The comments reached this beautiful, deranged, and you could almost say poetic peak. This quote right here really solidifies the machine's legendary status in the thread. It's part defiance, part strategy, and all chaos. So,
What's the crucial point? After all the debate, the physics lessons, and the existential dread, what was the final verdict? What did the internet's greatest minds ultimately decide was the best course of action for our squirrel hero? Well, the hive mind landed on a few key, undeniable truths, and yes, that last point was a genuine suggestion in the thread that was very quickly and very wisely dismissed by pretty much everyone. Some things are just a step too far, even for Reddit.
Ultimately, you see, this thread wasn't really about a squirrel. It was a perfect microcosm of a very human instinct. When we're faced with an impossible situation, we don't just solve it. We turn it into a shared playground of wonderful, wonderful weirdness. Because when you really think about it, isn't this whole thing just a funhouse mirror of our own lives? We're constantly overthinking, we're anxiously navigating chaos, and we're desperately looking for our own version of the PlayPlace to hide in from whatever our metaphorical feral cat is.
And that's really the ultimate takeaway. What starts as a silly hypothetical ends on a surprisingly poignant and hilarious thought. It's a great reminder that survival isn't always about having the smartest plan, but about creativity, community, and knowing that when all else fails, there is always the ice cream machine.